David Magallanes. I'm with the math department here at Oxnard College. I'm stepping in for Shelley Sabrin, who, as we speak, is becoming a grandmother. So we figured that had more precedence at the moment, and she asked me to step in. I'm glad to do that for her. Welcome to this part of our lecture series, our spring lecture series. We have an exciting program for you. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But before I do, next week, next Wednesday, here at the same time, we have young veterans sharing their experiences, and it will talk about veterans being given the chance to communicate their military experiences and dialogue with their communities, so it should be very interesting. Now, after spring break, if you have a spring break here in the middle, on April 8th, we will have rhythms and songs from around the world. So we will have musician, educator, and sound medicine woman, Judy Piazza, will sing and play drums, wind instruments, and a unique dulcitar, performing songs inspired by indigenous people from various world cultures with profound vocal, melodic, and rhythmic traditions. So that's something to look forward to on April 8th. On April 15th, meet a French Jewish spy who infiltrated Nazi Germany. And Martha Kahn will show a brief DVD and tell how she served in the French army, infiltrating Nazi Germany, and she received the Croix de Guerre, Légion d'honneur, and other medals. So it should be a fascinating talk from somebody who survived that era. And now, for today, we have the music of Manson, Ellington, Gershwin, Bach, and more. Acclaimed composer and jazz pianist Bevan Manson will be joined by oboist Phil Ailey, violist Jenny Hansen, bassist Danny Young, and percussionist Charles Levin, performing jazz and classical pieces and discussing how these musical styles are connected. So let's give them a welcome from Oxnard College.
Thank you, David. Oh, is this on? Oh, we're on. Thanks, David. Nice to see you all here. Thanks for coming out on a sunny day when you could be out eating lunch outside. Maybe you've already eaten lunch. Anyway, we're going to play a number of different pieces that, in a funny way, are all related to each other, even though they were written at different times and different places. Some of them are classical and some of them are jazz, but we're going to show you how some of them have common elements in between the two of them. And this is Phil Ailing, great studio musician from LA, oboist. He's going to play a number of different instruments today. We're going to start out with what is ostensibly a classical piece, but it has a lot of jazz elements in it. And we're sure you'll hear that. This is one of Gershwin's famous preludes, arranged for oboe and piano. Joined by Danny Young on bass and Charles Levin on percussion. So this is more of a traditional jazz setup, except for our oboist is not only an oboist, but he's playing something called a piccolo oboe on this one. So this is the pieces sound different, but there is one big thing in common that they have. Does anybody know what it is? One big thing right away. Begins with an I. It's not me either. Improvisation. So that's interesting because in the classical piece there was some improvisation, and usually there isn't. But because these styles are so similar, people think they're very separate, but they're really not. They use different language rhythmically, but they use a lot of the same language harmonically. So the improvisation may have felt integral to the first piece, whereas you probably knew in the second piece that the improvisation was the main body of it, that we were making it up as we went along. So that just goes to show how close the musics are. Now we're going to do a different piece. It's a little bit longer. It has what we call a different feel. That was swing. And this one is what we call an Afro-Latin feel. It's in technically 12/8 instead of 4/4. So we think you'll hear the difference. We're also going to do something different with improvisation, which is going to probably sound a little bit more like classical. We're going to start out with tree improvisation. It uses elements of this piece, which often happens in classical composition, but everything's written down. So again, this is kind of a combination of the two styles. It's a famous tune called Invitation. I'm going to leave it up to you to decide whether there's improvisation or not. It's going to sound a little classical sometimes. These are so specific. Wow. Good for you, Ken. Exactly right. Yes, there was. Just a little there. Actually, there was some elsewhere too, but you can full credit. But that had a lot of classical influence too. So again, the two styles are really not that far apart. If you want to play one, you can certainly play the other. You have to learn the vocabulary, but you can certainly do it. And they're two of the richest musical traditions in the world. So as professional musicians, we get endless pleasure from doing both of them, or one at a time. We're going to continue now with one at a time, and we're going to change the pace again. We're going to bring out Jenny Hansen on viola, which is very similar in some ways to the oboe in that it is an orchestral instrument. It shares some of the same range, not quite. The English horn would be a little more in the exact range. It's the larger relationship of the violin. It's tuned a fifth lower than the violin. So show them that viola up there. So it's a little bit bigger than a violin. Not for sale. Solo. This is a dance movement from a Bach, J.S. Bach, that is, cello suite. Many violists also play these Bach cello suites. It's an Allemande from the third cello suite. And we think it's actually pretty jazzy, so we're going to show you a little bit later on how jazzy it can become. But first we want you to hear the version of it solo as a classical player would play it. So here's Jenny Hansen with the Bach Allemande. These are very different instruments. They didn't have a piano in Bach's time. And we're going to do it actually with piano, bass, and viola. And you'll see the difference. But this is something called ricochet, which the bow does when it moves very fast over multiple strings, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I think you're going to hear some of the same music in this as before, but it's going to be in a different way because of this classical technique. So here we go. B-E-V-A-N, M-A-N-S-O-N, the pianist and leader for today. We had a quintet here with Jenny Hansen on viola, Phil Ailing on oboe, Charles Levin on percussion, and Danny Young on bass, myself on piano. We played a combination of jazz and classical music for the students at Oxnard, and you can hear more of this in a number of places. First of all, the Channel Islands Chamber Orchestra in Ventura is doing a piece of mine, coincidentally, for jazz guitar and classical chamber orchestra. And that's this coming Saturday at the First Methodist Universal Church in Ventura. I'm sorry, at the Art Studio in Camarillo is this Saturday, the 21st, and on the 22nd at the First United Methodist Church in Ventura. In Camarillo at 4 o'clock on Saturday, and in Ventura at 7 p.m. on Sunday. And you can hear more of this music there because they'll be doing a combination of classical music and having a jazz soloist. You can also hear some of this music on my website, bevanmanson.com. That's BEVANMANSON.com. And you can also go to the Jazz Club in Ventura, Squash Grapes, which is on Main Street, where there's jazz at least 5 nights a week. I often play there, and some great players play there, including the jazz guitar soloist who will be working with me this Saturday and Sunday. They have jazz from 7 to 10 just about every night. Squash Grapes on Main Street in Ventura. Jazz is also all around Ventura. You'll have to look at a great website called VenturaCountyJazz.com to find out what's going on. And also, for classical music, the New West Symphony performs at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center several times a year. If you go to New West Symphony on the web, you can find out more about that. They also have chamber music concerts, and they have a group called the Harmony Project, which teaches about 200 school kids here, gives them free instruments, and gives them a chance to rehearse and practice and do concerts. It's a wonderful program. So if you go to harmonyproject.com and check out the Ventura locations, they have a lot of concerts as well. My understanding is there's also Ventura College and Oxnard College right here that have a number of music programs, so you can also check those out as well. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions, again, you can email me at Bevan Manson, BEVANMANSON, at earthlink.net. And again, my website, bevanmanson.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Is that good enough?